What's going on, everyone? So, Luka Doncic, obviously he is, had his resurgence. He's got his body transformation. He's ready to take over and conquer the NBA. Got a lot of reports, a lot of conversation going on. Like, hey, he is a lot more explosive. He seems more athletic. He's dunking and shoot around and stuff before the Eurobasket games and all that stuff. He's looking like a very different player. He's looking closer to what he was when he first came in the league. That's kind of been the conversation and the narrative going around while he's been in the Eurobasket, that the explosive Luka, the guy that was just like blowing by guys and dunking the basketball and doing all this stuff, right? Like when he first came into the league, he's back to that, right? So the question is, right, defensive side of the ball. We know Luka can score. I mean, I don't think anyone would be surprised if he wins, the scoring title this year. He's a guy that's put up 30 points in a season before. I wouldn't be shocked if he puts up, 33 this year. He's like 33, 8, and 8 or something like that. Ends up winning the NBA scoring title. I think if he plays 65 games, I think he wins the MVP as well. I think if the Lakers win the NBA Finals this year, I think he wins Finals MVP. I think if they win the in-season tournament, he wins the in-season tournament MVP. I think he's going to have an incredible season. We will see how good the Lakers are overall and if they're good enough to win a championship, but I don't think it's going to have anything to do with Luka Doncic. I think that there's going to be genuine conversation and argument and stuff about hey, is Luka the best player in the league? I think he's coming for that title. I think he's going to look every bit the part. I think, again, he was already a top 3 player in the league. If you want to argue SGA this year because of the performance and the MVP and winning the championship this past season, then sure, no problem. Okay, so Luka's 4th, right? But Luka's a top 4 player in all of basketball, has been. Right? I think it's funny that, there's this narrative, he's not the third, but when he was in Dallas, there were conversations about, is he the best player in all of basketball? Now he's a Laker. Now he's bottom 3, right? Weird. But the defense side of the ball, it's the biggest question. It's the biggest kind of concern when you're talking about Luka Doncic and the Lakers. We've seen Luka have good defensive moments, good defensive sequences, right? And there are some questions about now that he's had this transformation, now that he's had this, he's slimmed down and he's, looking a little more explosive and he's moving a lot better and he's more shifty and whatnot. Could that help translate to the defensive side of the ball? Because again, we know he's going to be the offensive engine. We know he's going to be that. Now, I'm not saying or suggesting or even would think right, that he's going to go and win, defensive player of the year or anything like that. I don't even think he's going to be, all defensive team or anything like that. I'm not even expecting him to be a really good defensive player. But can he at least be serviceable? He's going to be going out. He's going to give you, 30 plus a night. He's going to be, dishing out 8 assists. He's going to be rebounding the back. He's going to be doing so much for this Lakers team. I'm not expecting him to then also be, prime Scottie Pippen out there just defending 1 through 5 and just being an absolute dominant ball stopper, right? I'm not expecting Luka to necessarily be the defensive, player of the year, like I mentioned earlier. But it would be nice to see him not just essentially be an open door out there, right? Be a traffic cone. It'd be nice. Look, guys, even the best defenders get blown by, or out of position on occasion, right? Everybody, I don't care how good of a defender you are, you have embarrassing moments on the defensive side of things. You have moments where you just didn't have it or whatever, right? But I'm talking about collectively, right? Even if it's just within the defensive schemes, right? Putting in an effort, right? At least give the, give the fake effort, right? At least pretend at times rather than just looking like you're stuck in the mud. I'd like to see Luka Doncic really kind of buy into the defensive side of things a little better, right? He had moments, and even in the playoffs in that Minnesota series, he had some moments. He had some good defensive sequences. I mean, if you look up his defensive rating with the Lakers, he's actually really good, right? He looked elite. If you didn't actually watch him play and you didn't actually watch the games and you just looked at the defensive rating, you would think he should have been a defensive player of the year, right? So Now, obviously, we all know that that's not the case and that's not what we saw and, whatnot. But again, he can be a serviceable defender. He can't, again, can you stay in front of guys, funnel the offensive player, into Ayton, let Ayton clean it up, right? Especially if Ayton buys in on the defensive side of the ball, right? He's even talked about how he wants to be a better rim protector and shot blocker and all that stuff, right? Okay, perfect, beautiful. I love it, right? If he buys into that, and then you add in Luka Doncic and he's willing to buy into that, that could go so well for the Lakers. Again, I'm nobody, and I mean nobody, should expect him to be this defensive stopper, right? The guy that you're deploying, game on the line, SGA has the ball, put Luka on him, right? I'm not expecting him to be Jared Vanderbilt out there for the Lakers. But again, can he play within the defensive schemes to where you don't have to hide him and mask him, where they're not just switch hunting him all game long. And if they are, he's at least holding his own and making them, at least have to work on the offensive side of things, right? You also obviously you don't want to wear and gas Luka Doncic out, but that's why he's been working on his conditioning. That's why he's been working in dieting and working on his body and trying to get himself right and healthy. Right? And if he is really, if the reports are true and he looks every bit the part, but he's, like I said, it's the preseason game. So even in that first, Eurobasket game, he's kind of just out there, right? He wasn't trying to do too much, do too crazy. I want to see how he looks when the actual tournament starts. And he's all right, it's go time. And how locked in is he? Because, again, if he is that explosive and he is able to move that well and he is able to shuffle his feet and move laterally better and, slot in better, defensively as far as positioning your body and all that stuff, that could do so much for this Lakers team. Right? Because now if you have him buying in defensively, if Austin Reeves, same thing, can be serviceable, we'll see. Right? But then now you add in a Marcus Smart or a Jared Vanderbilt or something like that into that 3 spot. And then LeBron, we've seen LeBron be able to buy in and be the anchor to the defense and, really just kind of set the tone on the defensive side of things, especially if he doesn't have to do as much offensively and handle so much of the workload all season because Luka Doncic is handling a lot of it and he's the offensive engine. And like I mentioned, dropping 33 and doing all that stuff, which goes into the defense side of things where it's I'm not expecting him to drop 33, be your entire offensive engine, help lead this team to the playoffs and be the 2 or 3 seed or something like that, and then also be the best defensive player on the team. Again, I'm just talking about just taking pride into the defensive side of the ball, right? Again, no one, not even JJ, nobody's going to be looking at him to be, the be all end all on the defensive side. Just can you hold your own to where you're not a liability out there on the defense side of things? Luka's one of the few players in the league that, I don't care how bad he is defensively, he's better at everything else to offset the bad defense. You're not outscoring Luka Doncic, right? So yeah, he's dropping 33 and giving up 20. He's still a plus 13, right? So, and that's not counting the assists and everything else that he does out there on the basketball court. So again, Luka, even if Luka is terrible defensively, he's still the best player out there on the basketball court. You live with it. Jokic is, even worse defensively, and he's still, nobody's crying and complaining about it, right? Because he's just that good, that impactful. So you get that insane Luka this year, you'll be fine. But again, if he could just buy in and you have Austin Reeves and, like I said, a Jared Vanderbilt or, a Marcus Smart or something, and then LeBron James buying in defensively and being that anchor, and then, DeAndre Ayton, if he's, telling the truth and he's hey, I want to be bought it. I want to be, a better rim protector. I want to be better on the defensive side of things, especially with Luka making things so much easier for him on the offensive side, that I think that could even be beneficial to kind of preserve himself more, kind of be more focused and bought in on the defensive side. Because it's I don't have to work as hard offensively. I can kind of, play off of Luka Doncic And so that gives me more energy and opportunity and effort to now slot into the defensive side of the ball and be that help defender, be that rim protector, be that shot blocker, right? And then if you have LeBron, same thing. If LeBron doesn't have to do so much on the offensive side of things and making plays and doing all this stuff, he can kind of just go get his 22 points and lock in defensively and kind of set the tone on the defense side of the ball. I mean, they could do wonders for this team. I'm not expecting this team to be, the best defense in all of basketball. I do think that they're going to be the best offense in all of basketball, or at least top 3 at worst. But we need the Lakers to at least be middle of the pack, right? If the Lakers can be, top 15, top 12, somewhere in that range on the defensive side of things over the course of the season, yeah, sure, they might have a stretch where they're the best offensive team, might have a stretch where they're mediocre, right? But if overall, right, coming to playoffs, we look at this team and it's okay, they're good enough, they're the best offense and they're good enough defensively to potentially win, right? You look at Denver when they won the championship, 15th in defense, right? They weren't even the best overall offense all season, but 15th in defense and then second worst defense in the playoffs. But they were so good, so much better than everybody, such a well-oiled machine offensively that no one was able to slow them down or stop them. And they ran through everybody and they won an NBA championship, right? So to me, the Lakers, like I said, can be the clear-cut best offense. And then if they can be kind of middle of the pack defensively, and if Luka Doncic can kind of buy in on that defensive side of the ball, all of a sudden you look up and it's wow, this Lakers team, they really are contenders. So I'm hoping that Luka, with this newfound energy, all the reports and words that hey, he's so much more explosive, he's moving so much better, he's so much more agile, right? He's out here dunking in the shoot-arounds and stuff. I'm hoping that translates. But let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. As always, this is a discussion, so I want to hear from you. Let me know. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. House not, we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.